Now we will have 5 poets who, through poetry, will trace their connection to the people and place. Please, I call on stage the 5 poets.
Hello everyone, I am diaries arumna, and this poem is titled Poetry is a Tree. Poetry is a tree I had neglected for too long. I had forgotten its sway and grip. I slighted the thrill and quiver of creation, arranging sensation and experience in cupboard shelves, in forehead furrows, in old ballpoint pens, in a cemetery rainbow, gazing but not tasting the cadence and rhythm, but it returned like a beloved lost nostalgia, heart drumming and hands trembling. Poetry is palimpsest, overlapped, intricate, like lace upon lace, where I heard love and pain cooing in a pigeon's goose. To discover, to lose, and to find once more, this mood approaches, this energy stretches and purrs, gaining a whole that is life and death entwined. How did I even dare to write poetry? It is a duty that is sacredly irresistible. Now clean those cobwebs underneath the mullah. Gently do you see the longing, fear, hope, strength, holding on, gray and white, while wisping in the air? May poetry be the husks who move away freely from rice grains, to transmute into rain, earth, wind, light, shadow, mist, foam, fire. Thank you.
Can you lower it? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Thomper, and I teach in St. Anthony's College. So I can see a lot of my students here. This poem that I'm going to read is called ML04. I am from War Jaintia. I was born and brought up in Joy, and this poem is a proud tribute to where I came from. I was raised in a house of 4 rooms, 4 people, 3 languages and 1 broken English evenly distributed among us. I knew early on the sting of onions, the taste of fruits that are stolen, and the serious desire to strangle the landlady. She died 20 years later on her own. The house we occupied was accompanied by 4 other houses, 4 other families bearing the foul and flowery languages of Mustem, Modamai, Minso, Trangblang. Sometimes names like Maste, Maplan, Dimos pop up like references the same way I remember characters from Dickens. But nothing placed the fear of God in me the way the compound idiot Warlund did. He who flirted with aunts and cousins amidst hiccups and unbearable drunkenness with his smelly jacket and his squeaky boots, may his soul rest in peace. Prayers twirl out of the landlady's tower like steam from her soapy rice. May we love our neighbors as we love ourselves. I can still picture her unibrow girl servant suppressing a yawn so that her nostrils flare up instead. The girl kept to herself. Perhaps she learned very early that the stain of gossip spreads like the color of turmeric. So she stuck to her masters, tall as a ladder, monosyllabic, monobrow, and all. It is sad that I associate her with the claustrophobia of rooms and the smell of Vicks. Evening lifted like the smell of mustard oil on your wonky pots and pans. From your window to mine, we were all connected. Around this time, while onions thrown on oil clatter, the fastest rappers were born. Akbar was, Akbar was, Akbar was the king, the king, the king. It was very likely that one of us would go back to school the next day and mess it all up, saying, the king, the king, the king was the westerly winds. Only Aiba whispered her lessons in hissing sounds with a dollop of Raja Khaini stuffed in her mouth. It was like a love conversation with her mute lover, the book. We envied her because when we whispered, it did not sound as sleek. We inherited the earth, we the children, didn't we? What patch of land did we not own? What insect and fly did we not slay? We crossed ditches and braved those stupid dogs that also had a lot of trouble mating because we cursed them, remember? Adults may look on our stinky toilets and call it poverty, but we, the citizens of our childhood, were only just glad to torture each other. If darkness is here, can Walloon be far behind? Thank you.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. I always have this apprehension towards considering this time of day as the afternoon. You know, there's that awkward phase between the afternoon and the evening. Sheldon Cooper calls it pre-evening. So a pleasant pre-evening to everyone. I have a few poems here with me today. First of all, my name is Vancouver, and I consider myself a romantic at heart. So my poems are going to lean towards romanticism in many ways, towards emotion in many ways. And the first poem that I have for you all today is in Khasi. It's called Kijing Bisha Nalatanum, and I have Bandra who will be accompanying me on the Ksing. Kijing Bisha Nalatanum translates to judgments from the roof. I apologize that I won't be able to translate the entire poem for you, but please, if you don't understand the language, just let the words consume you in the way that it can, if that makes sense. Halakat nom ngayeng bam leer. Nga artati ni ka jingko jongka haba om smashu kum ka jing ais ngubha kamaryang. Henry smapen ban kum ka jingta sa med upara marjan. Hapadeng ki yeng pakidulan kalat kra. Klem ding, klem sit, klem nyut, klem nyer nga itang kidong musa uriustad bapalang balar blar, klem jing im. Kim pinsha skor ya kali samit kabakawut shani shatai hakrum ka sahit beneng pat ya kabaki klor kikso bat kilo ki benna kum ka de page hi sngo kum ba ka don ka jinga tainya no shiliang ka kendo ka kerhu de lagi kali ki kiu siao ki saulang berla sngo kum ba ka klo shaka beneng kamriu spa manga ka beneng pat jai jai halaka jings ngur kasamut dakalili hangne hangtai mga pat tangkum unong petkai ya kata ka jinga tai nya no shiliang ngalambiang siya kata ka jings ma ka jingta sa amit uei mo uban chat tungrumbay hapdeng kaliur. Thank you.
I think this is okay. Hello everyone, I'm Amanda. Besides what I teach in Shillong College. Well, this poem is, I feel if all of us who are sitting here or who write in any way, and those who trace their roots to Shillong, we owe it to, especially in poetry, we owe it to our Shillong poets, some of whom are very well known and accomplished names. And this was a question that I had posed to one of them at one point of time, and it was a conversation that we had, in fact, in particular with Bakan Pam and Robin Ngangong. And I'd asked them this question, and if I'm motivated enough, it is because of them. It's called How to Write a Poem. Paint with words, make them feel, I was told. But where do I find words? In a foreign tongue, words that flow deep like a river. And if I find them, how do I conjure images to rise from words and become apt metaphors? As I share the house, you will learn why I write what I write and uncover a naked truth, one that unnerves me. Well, I write inspired by rare blossoms from the gardens of poetic friends. I write imagining a sweet lie like the kisses of my first crush. I write feelingly, bearing my heart, hoping words touch lives. I write to speak with words as sound effect that one might hear. I write for those silenced to give voice to the words. I write with confidence, without fear of censure, to state untold truths. I write, at least I try, though what I write may not disturb the universe, yet I write and do so with hope.
Kublai Barok. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Clarissa Candice Giri. I am a research scholar from the Department of Anthropology, Northeastern Hill University. My poems are from a different perspective since I'm an anthropologist, I'd like to think, and I think since I love poetry, I will present to you some anthro poems if you've never heard them before. This one is about Kayal, and we'll begin. Along a busy lane beneath dismal cloud cover, 3-day-old tomatoes still lay sleepless on greasy grey gutters. Buzzing, red-lipped vagabonds trying to sell bookmarked blessings for 10 a sympathizer are shooed away by busy customers. The Mahajans at their stations, unbothered by the rain, carry on unfazed and nonchalant in their daily exchange. And while the cobbler waits expectantly by his minuscule stopgap store, 4 badgers in uniform gather round a table that makes up the whole restaurant next door. Craggy concrete floors, weary and overlaid in people with different faces, all present with a need to eat, but from 2 paradoxical places. Watching, she dips her thimble. Silent, serene, quiet chewing observer, witnessing from her microscopic corner as unholy remnants of untimely rain drip from the overhanging tin roof and into the cup of her blue tarpaulin. She hopes to be there through all seasons, selling her kwai, sankti, lane, tang santingka, to dedicated patrons in search of a green and gold enigma. Thank you.
This next poem is titled A Return, and this is dedicated to the season of autumn. Hello, autumn. Today we meet as if for the first time. Beauty and wonder, tied in a loop, played again and again from the depths of a blue sky. You diffuse and fuse like a stirred egg, with crickets echoing more urgently than before, with a chorus of Saturdays, like that weekly aroma of Tumrumbai, merging with hair and laying down on walls and spoons. The rain dropped, but was carried miles away by the wind like an unwanted, unneeded visitor. On another evening, it stayed, cradling hope with warm in arms of certainty. But still, I wish for the invisible depths of the sky. Where is the sky? I cannot hold it. At least a cloud can somehow imagine that it grazes it. But still, I thank you for this tune, this tempering, as you fashion it new again. It is familiar, but it is unfamiliar too. Thank you for this coming, this going, this return, which transcribes palm lines deeper and darker, constantly changing.
Check. Um, I, I really couldn't decide whether to read this poem or not. I decided to go ahead with it just a minute ago because I'm assuming you're a forgiving crowd. This one, I think I'll call it ATM card because I wrote it yesterday. I will finish this piece in a minute. In a minute, I will tell you how I lost my ATM card yesterday. And if you find it, please let me know. My name is Amanda Christie Thomper. Now, how did I get such an uncommon name, I hear you ask? Here is my answer. Aman, my grandfather. Aman Ullah. Proud man who folded and unfolded his mat every day before sunrise to kiss the feet of God until one day he found salvation. My mother added the rest to my name like sentences in an assignment that requires a beginning, body, and conclusion. Christ is also a character in my name. Sorry. Christ is also a character in my name, as you can see. So there's Aman and there's Christ. And if I think this long and hard, my name is a collateral collision. Such nuances, who knew? But my point is, I only know my name is on that ATM card, and if you find it, don't think twice about what my name means. Don't make a fictional story of the shade of my past or the highlight of my present. Don't think of the two religions that braided a sturdy bridge that has brought me here to speak of them proudly and without shame. Don't think of the politics of identity. It's too much. I mean, it's just an ATM card. Just trust that I am human like you. And like you, I'm only ever looking for the goodness of the human heart. Thank you.
I can manage myself. Check. I'm such a fan of Amanda's poetry, she's inspired me so much. I think I am where I am in my journey of poetry because I've read so many of her poems. This next one is called They Are Still My Hands, and this summarizes the feelings of love and of pain and of worry during the pandemic. We've all been through this, so I hope you let these words go inside your mind and you immerse yourself in these words. There is ginger in my tea and garlic in my water, neither of them served cold. I guzzle one after the other with the aggression I would have shown the virus if I could see it. It was only back in January that my worries were mine and your worries were yours. We met and only worried about how the English-speaking cafes of Lajumkra were pricing their coffee too high. But such is the time. And I am worried that you could kill me, or I could kill you, or that my trip to the pharmacy could be newsworthy tomorrow because on my way there, I killed 10 people whose existences I'm not even aware of. So since I could very much be a murderer, I mask the rifle I call my mouth, and I glove these machetes I call my hands, but they are still my hands. They are still my hands, and they miss you. But such is the time, and they've become far more familiar with the scent of cleansing alcohol. They've forgotten what you feel like. Thank you.
Since we're all from Shillong and most of us Khasis, I'd like to read something that we're all known for about our matrilineal and about the Kaddo. So this one is called On Being a Kaddo. I'm a Kaddo, so these were my experiences of what I understood of being a Kaddo means. Being born as me into a welcoming world, I carried my mother's name, customarily and proudly. I was filled with theory. The Kaddo, I was told, would inherit responsibility, learn to walk the tightrope. Life wasn't going to be easy, but I didn't know that then. As a young girl, friends from the plains who crossed paths told me I was lucky. Lucky to inherit, have the man come home, and not lose one's name. I was convinced that as Kaddo, I was better off. Roller coaster life then played its cards. I had promises to keep, promises I made on the deathbed to a loved one. So I grew up with children I call my own. Till then, life was all well. But being alone, society's eyes work on you like a prey. They say, you're working, and conclude, therefore, it's time to tie the knot. But me being me, my Kaddo life had conditions. Yes, even falling in love and marriage had conditions. The first was a case of, if you take me, you must accept too. Perhaps an emotional blackmail. The second, which frightened many, was that I was a Kaddo. I inherit a house full of responsibility, family and the clan. Here suitors' negotiations began. Modernity demanded change. Rationalizing the thought, I agreed, moved out, leaving responsibilities behind. I lived in guilt, which I admit ate me up slowly, for I was not me. All was not well. Life wasn't easy, especially going against society when you still live in one. But being the matriarch, I built bridges when carrying my own bundle of joy, one who I called my own. I returned like the prodigal son. All I thought was well. Life again dealt its ace card. My bitter better half walked out, breaking promises well before death came close, cutting cords, ties thicker than blood. Life then was hell, all was not well. But with time, I now comprehend the customary full circle for me and them. Rights implied duties. I inherit not just responsibilities of a family and a clan. I was their responsibility too. That's what being a Kaddo truly means.
That was a very beautiful poem, ma'am. And being a Kaddo myself, it really resonated with me as well. So for my second poem, I think we'd like to go back to childhood in Shillong. My perspective this time. Okay. I want to go back to being an explorer, foraging inside unsafe warehouses, filled with discarded trash for treasures, dreaming through the gaps in the rusty tin roof. God knows I've always loved broken things. The only ones that have outlived their usefulness, those forgotten, fractured, and sprinkled in dust, old teacups, and that ancient 1945 Opel, reduced to a rusty steering stump with no doors. It used to be black, elegant, so I was told. They're the ones with all the history. And I used to listen to many impossible stories that they tried to tell me. Inside that Semkali, ne Semkulai, I'm not sure. Ngamkan mau sure. Too late to exist, misplaced in time, demolished so long ago, still fighting to stay alive, even if only in my daydreams. Thank you.
We've come to the last round of our poetry, and this third poem of mine is called When Words. When words satiate the stomach and food becomes an appendage, and faces formed on walls are familiarly lopsided than the ones seen every day, like the dream last night of a journey planned, waiting to be finished. When words lull the lungs on an autumn blue morning, whose smells of winter, the ripe sky blowing billows of curtains in small cottage windows like worn petals about to lose themselves to the wind. When words hold the hair and suddenly a sneeze blows out memories because of the taste it cooks up, of warm putharo and the blackest red tea with sugar heaps for a caramel crusted heart. When words nest around the neck and provide rare grins with old dimples who've outgrown roofs and verandas but still appear when a cockroach gymnastics in a new kitchen, shadowed under a toaster still charred by the wrath of burnt bread. When words need the knees like oil for unsteady joints so they can dodge the rumbling hum of an earthquake before rails and nails are loosened to flight. When words shake the shoulders to remind you that they need to be edged in the now, or vanish into the vapor of days like a straggling river punctuated by bald spots of rhyme and carelessness. When words earn this earth, the earth which clings to soplang when it is washed, who stays in the flavor of soplang, white, rhizomic, tribal, whispering to earth of hands who sowed it, of tongues who promised to it, telling the earth of how those words have earned it. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, I have to keep doing this. This is my last poem, and I would just like to take a moment to thank the organizers for giving us, some time to share our work. Thank you so much, and thank you to the audience for your patient listening. This one is called Stories. I wrote it for my grandmother. She passed away last year. She was 97. So how about we dedicate this one to all of our grandparents? Mouth like papyrus with burnt edges scrolls, ripe stories that were plucked from earth. With time they have resigned into the neat folders of your wrinkles. You never unfold them entirely, almost afraid that we wouldn't understand or believe. But you teased, nevertheless, with cocktail stories of lightning and cows, of trees and legendary ghosts on top of them, of rivers and legendary ghosts beside them, of wars and wedlocks, of forests that open like pools of metaphors and imagery in whose collection you bury your busy lives. You don't say much. You only move from kitchen to bed, from one imagined disease to another. You only complain about how old you are. And if I tell you that the pigment on your skin are only punctuations, in the grand epic of your life, you will ask me to take a dip in Satan's pool. I have learned to be happy leaving with only an autograph of a kiss on the cheek. I have nothing to complain. I stayed a day in the shadow of the finest character that springs from the storybook of Earth. Thank you.
I suppose we all know grief differently. I'll be using the instrumental for this next poem. So if you could have that ready, please. This is called Unknowing Grief. How timely. We reduce the volume. I wrote about grief because I knew her well. How would I not? I witnessed so many of my loved ones depart, and grief was always around. If she isn't already a near one herself, she's at least a neighbor whose naked window scenes arouse no humor anymore. I met a friend who lost a friend, a mother who lost a mother, a daughter who lost a son, and I found grief to be familiar to them too. She walked around their homes differently from mine, surely, but equally as comfortable. You see, my friend downs bottles of Old Monk because he knows grief as a drinker. My colleague complains about her 8 a.m. work hour because she knows grief as a pillow. My grandmother spent hours kneeling down because she knows grief as a prayer. And in my knowing of grief, oh, I sat on the roof as cold air ruffled my unkempt hair the night my father passed. Perhaps I know grief in the wind. So, for when each of us meet grief, I'd like to apprise you of this, that grief is a shapeshifter, a fraudster, an imposter, a fake friend. But you mustn't make it appear that you know about its business. In fact, treat it as it arrives. If it arrives as a flower, tend to the soil. If it arrives as a song, tune your strings. If it arrives as a meal, lick your plate dry. Because grief likes itself liked, welcomed, and unquestioned. And if ignored, will latch onto your calves and wet her pants while laughing at your face. Sit with grief, my dear. Pour tea for grief. And remember to ask her how much she likes milk in her tea. Milk or dark on that day. Sweetened or unsweetened. She's a gamble, this grief girl. Thank you.
Beautifully captured, Vancouver. Grief as a shapeshifter. How true. We've all had parents in our life. And I've grown up with my mom, my dad having passed away very early when I was young. I was quite a rebel of sorts. Never really understood, what a mother or being a mother is, and you really don't appreciate a mother when you're young. It's only when you grow older, you become a mother yourself, that's when, it hits you back and you understand what being a mom means. During my early years when I started writing, my mom used to always ask me, what do you write about I've never heard you write anything about me. And this was one day when I was busy writing certificates for some program in the college. And late at night, I decided I'd write this for her, and I'd give it to her because the next day was her birthday. So this was one of my small gifts to my mom. It's called If Only Words Could Tell You How Thankful I Am for You in My Life. It goes something like this. May, the lines crisscrossing your hands, your face, meet and separate, mapping your journey bound to my life, a constant reminder of immeasurable love. I recall childhood, magical moments when your warm embrace and sweet kisses cured sickness, dismissed fears. It is in your warm touch that I learned what love felt like. I remember the cold winters when huddled in the hearth, your scattered words danced to the tune of a poet, weaving stories of yesteryears, bringing imagination to life as you strengthened my roots and I learned to speak in your tongue before temporarily adopting a foreign one. I know now, Mother, that's what love sounds like. In life's journey, May, you sported a smile, sneered at sorrows. Each line that I now see on your face are unspoken testimonies of how you braved the storms to give us warmth as you dared to dream the impossible dream, lifting me up to be in your image, showing me what being a mother meant. And if today, May, I'm a good mother, I owe it all to you. You taught me unconditional love, and that sacrifice meant giving up your love for the sake of loved ones. You taught me to nurture my passions and hold on to my dreams. You, May, believed in me when I stopped believing in myself. You gently reminded me to submit to the Creator's will. You, May, taught me to look at the stars, enjoy the blue skies and everything around, but to never lose sight of the ground I stand on.
That was a very beautiful third half, I should say. I am honored and privileged to get the chance to stand here and present my poems along with such beautiful, beautiful poets. On behalf of everyone, I would like to thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity and for having us here. And I will be presenting my last poem on the lines of The Strength of a Mother. I would like to revisit an old tale that's been told time and again in the Khasi Hills. For those who know it, you know it. For those who don't, I apologize, but I hope you feel the words. After she unknowingly consumes the remains of her only daughter, murdered by her butcher husband, she is sent into a frenzy from unbearable pain and sorrow, taking her own life from the waterfall made famous by her tragedy. This is Likai, her ending retold. Calmly by the fire, she sits, staring at the flames before her. Ember sparks burn freckles on weathered floorboards, while restless charcoal crackle uneasily in the bay, and vapor fumes from her drenched kirsha. Smoke and ash cling to her damp hair, while cold drops trickle down her stiffened spine. A hot tear makes its way down her cheek. The white glistens bloody at her heel, and she watches shadows form beyond the pyre, just as her ancestors danced for war. Just then, the dish was ready, rueful and cooked to perfection. She feeds him a mouthful of this concoction, a stew of his own fingers. There will be no leftovers, no. Oh, how he tossed her daughter's tiny fingers like mere refuse into the shankwai. No, this butcher will devour his. Thank you.
Thank you, poets, for sharing with us your stories in verse, that are filled with emotion and definitely inspiring and resonating with each and every one of us. And thank you to Banra Borlang Saukumi on the Sing Shinrang for accompanying these poets. I call Mary Kurkalang, the creative director of Shillong Cherry Blossom Literary Festival, to the stage to present the mementos to the poets. Thank you.
Before I give you the mementos, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Literary festival would be incomplete without the poets. You made my day, you made the festival come alive today. Thank you. And it was just so beautiful, the range of poetry you brought here today, the range of emotions, the range of thought. It is just like such a celebration of our city in a way, and such a meaningful, deep exchange in verse. So thank you really deeply from the bottom of my heart and from all of us in the audience. Thank you.